Good evening, folks. Bloody hell, there you are there. What are you doing over there? I didn't even invite you in. You know what's actually happened here? I've clicked on an old stream and I've accidentally invited you in. Do you want to hang about?
Yeah, I can do. Well, actually,
might as well.
I'm actually AI.
You know what annoy? Well, it doesn't annoy me. It's you get all these. You see AI's kind of like the buzzword at the moment, and it looks like AL. And a lot of people call me Al, and I see all these things. Al is the next big thing, and there's a what do you call it? It's not a screensaver, a wallpaper. Do you remember people that weren't IT literate used to call desktop wallpapers a screensaver?
Oh yeah,
always.
yeah.
Oh, a new screensaver. Anyway, and there was one of them that said, "Al, what was it? Al makes a huge impact on saving global warming." And I thought, there you go. What can I say?
So it's you we need to blame.
It's me. Yeah. Incidentally, I got a. You know, that's the thing. See, when you back in the day, you would say, "Oh, I was listening to the news or I read the newspaper." Now you get to know about something and you can't actually remember where you saw it. It was whatever. You don't really know. But apparently, Elon Musk has now implanted a chip in a human. That has actually happened. And according to the gossip, he's also done the same to quite a few monkeys, all of which have died prematurely. So, God
nice.
forbid. Yeah, nice. I know. I mean, they're
So,
probably
look out for that at £20 coming out next week on Amazon. Yeah, right. Cheers, thanks.
Yeah. So how are you anyway, mate? It's been a wee while since I caught with you, apart from about half an hour ago when I spoke to you on the phone. But apart from that, how you doing anyway? How you diddling? Yo?
Yeah, good days, bad days. I would say it's sort of like going okay, really, when it comes to a beginning of a year, if you see what I mean. I think it was far worse last year than it was this year at the same point. So optimistic, on what the rest of the year is going to be like. But early days, isn't it? So
I suppose a wee bit more certainty with what's going on, job wise, which is good. But it's good to see. I mean, saying that, it's the weather today in Scotland is brutal. I mean, I don't know what the temperature is, but there's a really biting wind, and it's just awful, absolutely bloody awful. How's the weather down there?
Yeah, it's been all over the place, and we've only just got round to repairing the fence from the two gales that we had about a week and a half ago. We had two in succession. It was a couple of days.
Yeah.
So just got round to fixing that at a very good price. Thank you very much, my uncle. Because he came round and he said, "No, I don't want anything for it," but we gave him some money. But that was after a person came round to look at repairing the fence, and they gave us an estimate of £409
just to fix it.
To actually cement 3 posts, and it didn't include the fence, so it was just cementing and shoehorning the posts so they don't rust the ground.
Digging 3 holes and then putting concrete pillars, which you'll need to buy.
No, they buy them. They buy them.
But they're going to charge you. That didn't include the price of the wood.
No, because it was you're strengthening the existing posts. They haven't rotted, you see. You're just basically digging a 2-foot hole, taking the post out, attaching this concrete shoe and screwing it to it, putting it back in the hole, and then cementing the hole so that the cement is together and the cement is attached to the post. And that was for 3 posts. Now, you would have to take the panels out of the posts, to actually do it.
Yeah.
But the posts, the concrete posts themselves, if you buy them from Amazon, they're £22.95, for which you need 3 of them. You need a bag of what they call coach bolts. There's a pack of those for £15, right? £15. A bag of cement. I worked it out that just for buying the bits individually would have come to just under £100. So he wanted £419, which meant £319 was labour.
To dig 3 holes, stir up some concrete, and then go bonk and then plonk them in.
Yeah, that's it.
Bastard, eh?
Well, I looked on the internet and it said a person who comes along and does an estimate for a post fix, it's generally £35, and a person would probably charge £30 an hour, right? For his time. Well, if he's charged £319 labour, then he expected the job to take over 10 hours. I don't know where this was coming from. We just went at yours like that. I phoned up my uncle to say, do you know someone that could do it? And he said, I'll do it. He came down. 2 hours later, it's done.
Aye, exactly. Well, feel free to shame and name him, mate, if you want.
It's just you get an estimate through the door. It says this is what the estimate is about. For all I know, he incorporated the fact that the fence panels might deteriorate to nothing when he unscrews them. And if that's the case, you'll need a new fence panel. And it might well have included the fence panel, but he didn't put that on the estimate. He just said 3 shoes, bench bolts, cement. Here's your estimate, £419. Doesn't say anything about, oh, don't worry, it incorporates a fence if it breaks. You know what I mean? None of that.
Yeah.
So we just went,
oh, that's good. So it's all fixed, and it just costs
a good day. You put that down as a good day.
It costs you a couple of chocolate biscuits and a cup of tea, then, eh?
Well, like I said, I put in some money in a pot. My mum put in some money in a pot. He said nothing, and we gave him 50 quid.
No, nice one. Good. Just a quick hello to everyone that's tuned in tonight. It really feels like a wee while since I actually last did one of these. I mean, I know I did a live stream on Sunday. It's been a wee while since I've done a live Friday Waffle. Let's have a quick roll call. Colin Jones, Craig Flanagan, Martroid, Brian C, Jamie, Colin Bryden, Alex, and a couple other people as well. So wonderful. Jamie's asking, Maymeister, how much does Google take for a super chat? And Highlander, he's just appeared. I think it's is it 30%? I think, I can't remember.
I think you said it was between 20 and 30%, which you said, because I remember you saying you never care because it's a free channel and all of that sort of stuff. They want a little bit of money. Who gives a shit?
It was my mate Dave Connolly, who the guy I was obviously talking about Dave last week. I'll tell you that. You get kind of drawn to these kind of car crash things. I watched more of that video, and it was 3.5 hours all in, and I was just like absolutely gobsmacked at how much they were all complete, apart from Dave, were complete absolute wankers. Honestly, it's like, then he's done a couple of other videos, and it's just, and the sad thing is, every second comment is a super chat, £15, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, this guy's making a living out of just being just shite.
I'm wondering because when you mentioned it, and I didn't get to see the actual video, although the way it was reading out, it sounded very much like it was a roast. If you've ever heard of a roast, you'll know that they have these dinner evenings where you have a celebrity go up and all these people come up and they're supposed to celebrate the life of this person, but actually they go and call them shitheads and bastards and everything else, and say everything derogatory about them. It's called a roast. It sounded very much it was that. But the trouble is that in a roast, you're in on the joke. You know what you're going up with. I think your friend, how he survived and stuck it for so long, got to commend him. You got to have the patience and of a saint, because as far as I'm concerned, you take that much barrage, unless you're in on the joke, I wouldn't have been there. You know what I mean? Like, we have a little bit of a chit chat, and you'll say, "Hey, Dale, you old bastard," we understand, right? But if you're not in on the joke and they're just there to take the piss out of you, no.
I would have just said, you know what? Fuck the lot of you bunch of absolute.
You see, now if the audience think that this is acceptable, then it's because they're thinking of it like a roast, which is a broadcast, well-known thing where we're going to take the piss out of this guy, and then they'll pay their money to be in on the joke, and they think it's funny because it's all in on the joke. But no, this is not that at all, and that's where I think it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusted. I'd have been off my trolley with rage if I saw a mate like you, like up there, and somebody was doing the same to you. I'd be going, whoa, where do you live? I want to go around there, punch your face out.
Yeah.
You know, it's you just don't do that to people, you know.
So if you want a quick way to make a lot of money in YouTube, act like a complete wanker, completely rip the arse out of your guests in a nasty way. I mean, it wasn't even so much they were like abusing them or anything, but it was the fact that they would ask him a question and he would begin to talk, and then they would just all talk over each other, and then they were asking him various things and he was answering, and then they were just being a complete absolute. It's just bullying. It's bullying. That's all it was.
Bullying, and that's the thing. You see, because I'm exposed to bullying myself, you know, early part of your life, you're very then sensitive to it, and it just brings back so many flashbacks to me. You know what I mean? So
anyway, we'll not give it any more airtime. It doesn't deserve anything else. I've just got a little list of things I want to talk about. I don't think any of them are actually to do with video games. But then you've come to expect that, you know what I mean? But just
that's what I was expecting. I was going to turn around and say, well done on your video for the perfect game.
You enjoy that.
It did take me a while to go through it, but I had a totally different view on it all. Because I always look at things like this. There's no such thing as the perfect game. You could turn around and say chess.
I think I upset Lacosa calling it the perfect game. I was trying to word what it was. What we tried to do was we tried to break what elements make up a game, and then we tried to say, well, that has to be a 10 out of 10 for the best. How important is each aspect of it, type thing. It was just a waffle. It kind of led on, but you know what? Holy fuck, Jamie. Bloody hell, mate.
Oh, what's Jamie done?
He's only gone and given me bloody 20 quid. Fucking hell, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. £10 goes to me, so let's see. No.
Listen, mate. Thank you very much. I mean, I'd like to think I never ever ask for money. I would never ever do it on a monthly Sundays. But things like that, you know, I do have outlays for it, and I do appreciate it. So thank you so much, Jamie.
That is such a lovely thing to do for this, you know, Scottish bastard. He really does need the send us the money. No, I'm only joking.
Nah, honestly, thank you very much, Jamie. There was absolutely
wonderful.
No need. Yeah, thank you very much, mate. That is.
But what I was going to say about it though is I know what you were getting at in the word perfect and all of that sort of stuff. And I was thinking of, is chess the perfect game? You know, and I had this all in my head. You know, it's not video game, but you could turn around and say it's got the perfect rule set. You know what I mean? You can't go wrong. Even football is not the perfect game because nobody can explain the offside rule and all sorts of shit. You know what I mean? Anyway. The thing I have a difficulty with is that whenever you're doing something like that, I don't know whether a person is retrospectively looking in the past or actually thinking about everything now, because I put past something to you and said, there's no way in this wide world that if you were a designer of a VR game that you would put graphics at 2 as important, because everything is about immersion. If you're not immersed in the game, it would not work if you had stickmen and blocks, and therefore the whole thing would be ruined and it would not be therefore a great game. And so the emphasis on VR would be totally on the ups on a different scale to what you were talking about when it comes to a Commodore 64 game, a Spectrum game, and even a 360 and a PS5 and all of that sort of stuff. Because I totally agree. Who gives a shit about graphics? It's whether I can bloody play it, get somewhere, and I get enjoyment out of it. But a VR game, I'm sorry, but you've got to have this immersion.
Yeah, I think what we were talking about was based on your traditional sort of flat screen, 2D type.
But it was, but you see, VR is a video game. It is classed as a video game. It is a video game, and yours said perfect video game. So of course, so then I was thinking you moved on to sound, and I thought to myself, well, it wouldn't be very good, would it, playing Guitar Band on the Spectrum if you've got shit sound? Right. There I am with my guitar, just about to do my Iron Maiden bit, and all I hear is fuck, what's this? So then sound becomes very important.
That'd be interesting. I mean, you've seen these demakes. It'd be interesting to see like Guitar Hero in the Spectrum. I mean, I suppose it could be done. You would still get the graphics, but it would just be like little high pitched shrills or squawks, whatever it is that the Spectrum.
I don't know. It could be done like Deus. Do you remember Deus Ex Machina, where you put an audio cassette on the other side and you had to do a rhythm? You could do it that way. Do the rhythm to the track that's on the audio side.
What's ever happened to? I was talking to a girl at my work actually about like Guitar Hero and all that kind of stuff, which does lead on to a thing I want to talk about shortly. I mean, these rhythm games. It's funny how games do go in, and I was going to say they go in cycles. Things become mega popular, and then they kind of become unpopular and go out of vogue, and then something else will come along. I mean, rhythm games. When did they sort of first? I mean, they kind of came along with like the Wii and the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox.
I'd say there was a plateau, and when the Wii came along, and you had certain add-ons that you could buy, like maracas, or you could have a plastic that you holds your controller, and you could use it as a wand and all that sort of stuff. I think rhythm games really took off a little bit around that period. Rhythm games have been around for years, don't get me wrong. You know, we've had some stuff on the 64, like I'm sure Master of the Lamps, where you're flying on the carpet, has got a bit of music at the end where you know, and of course, and my earliest, I think, adaptation of a music game would have been Simon. You remember Simon with the red?
I always wanted one of these. I never ever owned one. I'm just trying to think, did Guitar Hero come out for the PlayStation 2, or was it the PlayStation 3? Because it didn't come out for like the original Xbox. It came out on the 360.
Yeah,
I think it was the PlayStation 3. Did it come out in the PlayStation 2?
I think it didn't come out for the PlayStation 2. Yeah, I think it's PlayStation 3, like you say.
Yeah.
And you knew it took off because not only did that start off having guitars and stuff, then suddenly you were a band. They came out with drums and a whole kit in a great big box the size of
what was it called again? Was it rock band or something? Did you ever get into that?
I bought it. It's in the attic and I never used it. It's still sealed up, right? I bought it from...
You've never used it?
Never used it. I bought it from HMV when they went bust the first time. Yeah. It was £199 down to £35. Do you want
Holy
it? Yeah,
shit.
I'll have it.
And was that the full binner, like with the guitar and the drums and that as well?
Everything is in there and it's all boxed, and I've never opened it.
Bloody hell. What have I got? I've got a brand new Xbox, and I've also got a brand new Xbox 360 that are in my cupboard. I bought them because they were so cheap.
Yeah.
Never been opened.
I must admit, when the Dreamcast was being sold in the bucket loads of Cash Converter, and you could buy them for £10, every time I went past a Cash Converters, I pretty much bought a Dreamcast. Went, oh yeah, £10. It'll come in useful, I'm sure, and I'll have it for bits, because Dreamcast was one of those ones where it should never have died like it did, and I could put in a disc that allowed me to play, you know, like CDs and have the games, and I just thought that lid is going to break, you know what I mean, or something. And so every time I went past a Cash Converter, I bought another Dreamcast, and it always came with the fishing rod and everything. I was like, for £10.
So how many have you got then?
I've got 14 Dreamcasts.
14 Dreamcasts?
I've got 14 Dreamcasts. One is my original, which has never broke, and the other 13 are from Kex. And I never spent more than £15 on them.
Bloody, are they still boxed?
No, some of them came boxed, some of them didn't. You know how it was. You know, it was like, it's as seen. So they give you the controller, and it was all in a plastic bag. You know, and so there you are, look, sir, 15 quid. And you went away with a £199 console, which was 2 years ago,
for
15 quid. And I just went, you know, I can still go in there and get games for this thing, and they're selling them on their rack here, you know. And I went, yeah. I like that.
Were you quite literally just buying them because of the price of them?
It was the price.
Yeah,
Literally the price. And the fact that I had I used to go back down to my hometown because I was living in Manchester at the time.
Yeah.
So this was a time where I was paying for a mortgage and everything, and I couldn't afford hardly anything. So when I went past a Kex and there was a console there and it's 15 quid, I went, yeah. You know what I mean?
Some of that. Is there any?
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
No,
go on.
I was just going to say that I even looked at it like this. If my nephew turned up, he could have a Dreamcast in his room. I've got one under my telly in my living room, and he could take one home with him if he wanted. You know what I mean? It's when my mum and dad would come up and they'd bring my nephew and nieces up to see me, Uncle Del. They could go home with a Dreamcast if they want, and it would only have cost me 15 quid for the thing, and I still had about 10 left. You know what I mean? So it was.
Well, you may want to think about selling them because I mean I think they go. I don't think they don't go for like a huge amount of money, but they certainly.
No, well, I keep meaning to buy, that the more up to date power supply, the card reader, and all of that sort of stuff, and the molded plastic that allows you to have the card reader in the upper part of the case now, and all of that sort of stuff. And they go for bloody expensive. If you buy them fully assembled, they're like 250 quid. Some of these, and I was going, wow, when you can actually buy the card reader and everything for about 30, 40, 50 pounds, I think they are.
Yeah,
they're almost
yeah, I've got the official, was it the G Drive or something it's called?
Yeah.
I think it was about 100 odd quid. You can get a slightly cheaper one, which I think does exactly the same.
Well, I looked so much into it that I was going, these people are doing it wrong, because they kept the power supply from the original, and then we're taking the lens CD drive out and then putting this board in that would use a memory reader. And I was turning around and saying, do you know how much power that bloody laser is going to be taking? That power supply is going to burn something, right? Because it's supplying too much voltage to the board, and it's got no regulator in it. So I just thought to myself, you're supposed to you're supposed to take the old power supply out and put this other one in, so that it only powers a board. Because you're taking away like I say, something that powers a laser, for God's sake.
Yeah. Now you've got me worried.
I mean, honestly, you can buy this power supply and you take the big chunk out because it takes up a whole side of the thing, and you replace it with a no bigger than this little card thing, right? And it goes at the back and screws in, and you can buy them for 12 quid, and it requires no soldering or anything. You just pull the cable out, you undo the old one, and you put this little square one in, and you put the rhythm cable back on, and there you are, 15 quid. So I wouldn't worry about it. If it blew, you'd get one for £15.
Yeah, that's fine. Right, we better look at a few. I mean, there's not much point in doing a live stream, and then people are asking you questions, and you completely ignore them, and it's not intentional. Honest. Craig Flanagan reckons the most perfect game is Greenberry C16.
You want to play a few more games, Craig? That's all I've got to say. I think the perfect game is.
I mean, we all know how bad that game is, and it is. It's bad in so many ways. There is nothing good about it. How on earth did? I mean, it was released by Imagine, which were part of Ocean. How on earth did that game actually get past quality control?
I look at certain stuff and I think the same thing. You asked me, didn't you, on one of your nice and nasty, what game should never have been released. Don't think Green Beret quite fits that, but you're not far off of it. I mean, it's got all the things that you hate about a game, like blinking characters or things that merge in with the background or colors that are only one color and sound that. It's got all of those things that take you away from what the original arcade game was, that you think, well, what was the point? And that's what I was getting at when it comes to the game thing that you were talking about.
If you were to flip it over from what Lacoza and I were talking about, the perfect game, if you were to come up with the worst game, you'd say, right, shit graphics, tick. Zero animation, tick. No scrolling, tick. Terrible sprite detection, tick. It quite literally tick even the box. I mean, it's got the best title screen ever. Stab to start.
I do look at it like this. it's who was mad enough to think that you could put Green Beret in 16K of RAM?
Yeah.
It is 16K. Remember, a lot of
Yeah,
people
it
forget
was.
that the Commodore 16 is literally called that, really, because it's 16K. If you'd have got the +4, you're talking a lot more RAM, and might have had a say.
Yeah, awful. Doug's saying he loved the recent video with Lucosa. No, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And then we've got the lovely, the beautiful Livy Gregor. How you doing, Mrs. Gregory? Hope you're well.
Hello, Livy. Hello.
Scott Retro Hawk, Guitar Hero is one of my favourite game series. I mean, I did get into it. I think I bought about 3 or 4 of them. I never. Oh no, was it? What was it? Was it Rock Band that had like the Beatles and all this kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it oversaturated the market, because what came out after that, SingStar, where it was karaoke. Then
yeah. I think I've got that somewhere. I don't know where.
But you've got something that you've been meaning to try for a long time, and you haven't updated us on it, where you buy something for your actual electric guitar and plug it into your PC and learn to play the guitar.
Oh yeah, Rocksmith.
Rocksmith, that's it.
It's a bizarre name, yeah.
And I do know that really works. That apparently that is a really nice piece of kit. That is.
Yeah, I've a mate who he's been playing guitar virtually all his life, and he goes to a music club, and there was a guy turned up who'd never picked up a guitar in his life, couldn't play it, and then he saw him a couple of months later, and the guy was playing tunes, and he's like, "Oh, you've been practicing hard, you've been getting a bit of tuition." He says, "No, I just bought Rock Band or bought Rocksmith." He said, "It's quite literally taught me how to play the guitar."
Yeah, apparently the most expensive part is the adapter that goes into your guitar, and then the software. I mean, it's you'd think would be top notch as well, but apparently it's when my friend bought it many years ago, he said that the adapter or something was like 90 odd pounds. It wasn't exactly like cheap. This thing.
No, I mean you get it all in this one package. It's just a straightforward. I mean, it's a USB to the big massive phono thing that plugs into the guitar. So no, that all came. I can't remember how much it was.
The last time I spoke to him was 2013. So we are talking quite far back. I think that he could have been right in regards to the fact that these cables and stuff would cost you more money.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But I will need to dig it out. Hello, Dale and Alan. How the devil are you two? Yeah, we're all good, mate. All good. All the better for being Friday.
Yes, isn't it great? Friday, thank God.
Talking about the guitar. Whoops, hang on, I'm just slipping off. I was playing pool a couple of weeks ago, and there was a guy there who's one of like Lee's kind of friends. He's good at pool, and he was telling me that he started to play the guitar. I think it was his grandfather died a couple of years ago, and there was a guitar in his house. He said, "Oh, I'll take that." And he's been just watching YouTube videos over the last couple of years, and he now actually goes to like open mic sessions in pubs, and he'll do like a 10-15 minute set, and he puts all these videos up on Facebook. And I'll tell you, I mean, he's absolute top respect to the guy. He's just, he's learned to play the guitar in a couple of years, and he's singing whatever. So that actually inspired me to go and get my guitar out the wardrobe. So I've been practicing for the last sort of 2-3 nights, just 10-15 minutes per night. But if there's anything that I do in my life before I die, I want to learn to play the guitar. I know I'm never going to be a Joe Satriani or a Martin Knopfler or whatever, but if I can play a couple of chords and sing, then I think it must be brilliant to be able to go into like a house and entertain people.
It's got quite a nice tone to that, hasn't it? Look, Alan Knopfler. Yeah, I mean that'd be pretty good, really, wouldn't it? I mean,
I'll tell you. Sorry, I've completely forgot as well. You know how you know what it's like when you happen to see something and then you go, oh, no. And then before you know it, you end up buying something. There was I think it popped up on my phone, was at work, and it was like, is this £20 keyboard, worth it? and I had to watch it, and there was a video. A guy bought a £20 keyboard for Lidl's, a synthesizer.
Yeah, you
And
saw the same thing I did, and he took the batteries out of it and made it so it worked by DC power and all sorts of stuff.
You watched it as well, and maybe because you'd watched it, it came up in minds, whatever. But I watched a bit of the video, and I thought, fuck it. So I went down to Lidl, and they didn't have any. The next night, I bought one. I bought a synthesizer on bloody eBay. It cost me, I think it was £103. This thing is about the same size as your keyboard.
It's a 66 key 66.
It's a Roland DX10 or something.
Wow.
It's when I got it, and I'm like, fucking hell, look at the size of this thing. Or as Han Solo, as Luke Skywalker would say, look at the size of that thing.
Yeah.
Just as he goes into the Death Star. Anyway, I switched it on. I thought, oh fucking hell, the speakers aren't working. And then I realised it doesn't come with speakers.
It doesn't come with speakers. No.
So I've got a set of headphones which I've been kind of using. But I saw a video again on YouTube, and it's actually there's a piece of software, I can't remember what it's called, and you can buy it's about 20 quid, but it runs on a PC, and you need obviously you need a keyboard. But this thing has got, apart from having thousands of instruments, it's got like famous keyboards, and it's got the keyboard out of Final Countdown by Europe, Axel F, what do you call it? Van Halen Jump. It's got all these perfect sounds. I thought, oh, that would be great. The only problem with that is you've got to be able to play the damn thing to make it actually work. But,
they're called styles on my keyboard, but that's because it's a Yamaha, right?
So you never know, mate. If I stick in with the guitar, we can get the Dale and Al.
I want to know more about. I want to know more about this. Where did you get this synthesizer from? And that sort of price, a DX10 for £100 Wow,
I'm maybe talking. It might have been a DX3. I don't know. I don't think it was a DX10.
Where was it from? Was it brand new? Was it second hand?
No. It was second hand. Let me have a quick look, and I'll tell you exactly what it was. I think it was a DX3 actually. I don't know.
I mean. I've said it a million times, right? That a difficulty a person will have that when they want to play the piano, say, is the cost of the thing, right? They go, am I really going to be able to play it? I don't want to spend too much money on it. And then when you go into a special keyboard shop, they'll always want to sell you the modern one, right? But you can buy a top of the range lower model, and it will be the same as the price as the top of the range from 7 years ago. Which one is better, right? The one that cost £3,000 7 years ago, or is now dropped to 150 quid, but you can buy the brand new one that came out this year for 150 quid. Should you buy the one from 7 years ago, or should you buy the one because they're same price? And you're stuck with that choice. Oh, right. Do I buy a 7-year-old one, or do I buy one that's got a guarantee of 12 months and it's only just come out last month and it's got rave reviews? This thing's from 7 years. I always go buy the old one. Definitely. A $3,000 keyboard, it must have been absolutely fantastic. You know what I mean? And I got my Tyros that way, and basically I've never looked back. It's a gorgeous piece of kit.
That's nice. There it's there. I don't know if you can see that. It's
all right. Has it got a screen, or is it just the keyboard? Wow, £112. XP10. Yeah, it is. It's an XP10. Brilliant.
So, yeah.
So yours has got the same thing. On the back of yours, it's got a MIDI connector, and it goes to USB.
Yeah,
so it's a MIDI to USB connector, and then it can link to things like Cubase, and you can then do workstation-y stuff. And that's what I do on mine. I've got a lead that goes all the way from there around here to this PC, and basically any key I press comes up as a note on the stage.
The only difference between you and me is you can actually play the damn thing. I can't.
I'm better. It's one of those things where I then go away from it for 6 months and I come back and I'm as rusty as shit again. And then I basically get back into it and play every day for a couple of weeks. And then suddenly I'm back to where I was. And then I'm shit again because I leave it. And it just goes on and on and on. I was trained at school. I played on the organ at our church, but I never got any further than that. I did some music exams. But you're talking 35, 40 years ago. I mean, I learned German 35, 40 years ago. Probably know about 10 words now. You know what I mean?
Go on, then.
No, but try and do the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What was it? 21?
Yeah, there's Links Rex Geradeaus, isn't there? There's Geradeaus. There's
that was.
Wo wohnst du? Ich wohne in. Where do you live? I live in. Oh yeah.
Wie komme ich am besten zur Burg, bitte?
Well, that's something about are you better or something, isn't it?
No. It's can you tell me the best way to the castle, please?
Oh right, you did say this in a stream, and I should have remembered because you had a word about that. But you know what I mean, though. I mean, even though you had 3 years at school learning a language, I probably would know about less than a 1/4% of what I know now, because I've filled my brain with other things and I've forgotten all that.
Right, there's a question from Doug Scullery. You can read it out while I have a quick drink of my tea.
Quick fire question: can you instantly spot a Commodore 64 game programmed in America compared to a UK created game? Do they have their own distinctive look and feel? My simple answer to that is only because I know it came from America do I know it's an American game, because I've seen things like Tiger Heli that have been done in Britain, and then we saw the American one, and Ikari Warriors is a famous one, isn't it, where the American one was different to the British one and the British one was better. I think everybody agreed on that. But in the old days, yes, because if something came over from Activision, I knew instantly that this was sort of like Doughboy and Blue Max. It was when I looked at the British games, they were done differently. I think I could tell.
Yeah, do you think it's? I mean, I'm like you. If you said to me, I don't know, is that game American or is that game British? You go, oh, I don't know. It's only because you know. I mean, all the early kind of games they came from America. I think it's not so much that a game looks American; it's more that a game looks British, because obviously Britain has got the whole, the sense of humour that we have compared to Americans is completely different. You have this Monty Python alternative kind of comedy, which I don't think the Americans get. So, and
I don't think America would have an end sequence like Jet Set Willy, where a big foot would come down from the top of the screen and squash you, right? They had Bounty Bob, but he his death sequences were in the game, but there was nothing fancy about the game over other than it said game over. Same with Boulder Dash and all of those sort of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a yes or no answer. I'm going to let you finish now, but my answer to Doug Scullery is it's a yes or no answer from me, because I pretty much knew if a game came from America.
Yeah. I would tend to agree. I mean,
so it's hard for me to say, but I'm going to let you say. I mean,
there was
American games and that you bought.
There was certainly a lot of games that came out, probably primarily in the Spectrum. Obviously, the Spectrum. Just give me one little second. I need to lift him up. Right, come on, up you get. Jump. Come on, get up. Bloody hell, Archie. Right, go and lie down. What was I going to say? Yeah, there were some quintessentially British games. I mean, I was going to say Man-Eating Miner, but then, Bounty Bob Strikes Back. Or would you say the wacky kind of characters in Man-Eating Miner with telephones and toilets? Is that a
That's what I was trying to take out, like Jeff
yeah.
Minter and his CND symbols and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What other games, video games, could only have come from Britain? Like Back to School, do you think?
Yeah.
School days.
School days. You know, there's certain stuff that, you know, sticks in you that goes, that works. And I don't think, and I mean, Hover Bother might have sold probably quite well in America, but it seems very much like a quintessential English game. You know, it's even got in an English country garden playing. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, this is British. You know what I mean?
Trying to think of any other quintessentially British games.
Oh. See, when you go back and you think about it,
I think.
I'll tell you what, I could easily tell in a text adventure if it was from America or Britain because of the different spellings for things like colour.
Oh, that's true.
And all that sort of stuff. So I could tell that instantly. And I on the VIC-20, I had a number of Scott Adams adventure games like The Count and Adventureland.
Yeah.
And those were definitely American, and you could tell.
Just, you know what just I mean? Something that kind of just sprung to mind there, just thinking about this. The early C64 games were they were all programmed in the US. All your stuff like Synapse Software and Broderbund and you know, Forbidden Forest, all these kind of games. Kind of American software pretty much dried up from about 1984, maybe 1985, possibly.
Yeah, NES, wasn't it?
Was that what it was? So the Commodore 64 just stopped being a thing, and then they all jumped on the.
They had the computer. They had the crash, didn't they? Around about 82, 83, and it took a number of years for the cartridge industry and the console industry to come back, and it was the spark of Nintendo that brought it back out of its ashes. The computers were always there because you had the Atari 400, the 800, the Commodore 64, disk drives, and all that sort of stuff. But consoles then became the norm again. You know what I mean? It's almost like they went to computers just for a short year or so for the industry to get caught back up on itself, and then cartridges took over again. Do you know what I mean? There's this sort of like that.
I don't even really remember seeing like NESs for sale. I mean, where did they sell them about?
Oh, well, it's just that when they left Japan, they sold them in North America as the next part of the world. Britain didn't get them until they got a license through Ocean, was it? To sell like Master, like or am I thinking about the Sega Master System for that?
I think it was the Sega.
Yeah, I think the NES did. They even launched it in France and Germany before England. You see what I mean? By the time we got it, it was 87, 86, 87. We were 1 year into the Amiga 500 and 3 years into the A1000. You see what I mean? In our 16-bit computers, and we were so used to putting discs in the cartridge didn't make a blind bit of difference. You were still playing a game, and it was much more versatile. Remember, we always had that inbuilt in us, didn't you? I want the computer to do my homework on. You can't do that with a console. You can't get away with that on a console. Sorry. Yeah, I've got my light gun so I can learn so I can learn, you know, a language or something with it. You know, it's not going to work, is it?
It's funny. I think it was Lacosa and I were talking about that, and there was a video recently, just how when the computers first came out, you know, it was a thrill just being able to like type your name in it, and it didn't matter that there wasn't games. Just being able to type in a little command that you'd have to think a number or create a graphic. That was just that was such a big thrill. But then obviously once games became kind of commonplace, then all that stopped, and it all just became about the game, didn't it?
Yeah, I learned so much from that Commodore 64 manual. It's unbelievable. It was a spiral. Really? It was a spiral manual. I instantly went to the section called sprites. I typed in that balloon that turned into a balloon sprite.
Oh, I remember that. The balloon.
I was hooked, and then it was telling me that colors work like this. That you've got standard black and white. You add another layer on top of that, and you go from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16, and that's how colors work. 8 to 16. You add another layer, it's 32. You add another one, and so forth. And therefore, everything works in that way. So it's 2, 4, 6, and you suddenly worked out in your head it was 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256. And then instantly, therefore, I could program sprites because it was like, oh, right, because it's the top. It's 2, 4, 6, 8, right? That's the block. So you add those two up together, and that makes up on that line the number 174. Because the only way that it can make up 174 is if you put in a block in 2 and 4. And I instantly got that grasp of that. But then if you then turn around and said, but now you've got to start using logic. Right, you got to use if then else statements and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going, you've lost me now, because I understood what you were talking about when it came to the music. I understood what you were talking about when it comes to the graphics. Now you're talking logic, and you're talking about arrays and a Boolean algebra. A equals this unless it was this, and then it's not this if it's this. And I'm going, fuck that. So I then was instantly out. And
what was what was the data statements that you used to get in like games? What was it?
Data statements were basically data statements were just a block of numbers that actually referred to a particular part. It could be sprite graphics in there,
right?
They say it's 174-86-. They were commas. Sorry. So
It was just a list of numbers, wasn't it? I never had a bloody clue what the hell any of that meant.
Right. So you could program an area of you could program your graphics and do it all in numbers in that block, and then it can refer to a certain area of memory where that's where graphics are held. So it would mean something to it. You see what I mean? But you had to set all that up at the beginning, and we're talking now in an area that I'm remembering, but I don't know enough to talk with any authority on. Colin would blow me out the water.
At what point did you kind of give up and program and think, bollocks, I'll just play the games that have already been programmed?
I think it's pretty much when I stopped typing them in from magazines. I just went, because I used to love doing the magazines because it was a cheap way of me getting a game. And if it didn't look too big, I could probably work out how it worked. And then if I knew how it could work, I could change it to how I want it to be. But then they published ones that were much longer. And then the printing that they did, you couldn't make out a 0 or an O. All sorts of, fives looked like S's. And you had to know sort of like hexadecimal to understand that could never have been an S, because there's no such thing as an S in hex. It's 5, right? So you suddenly then worked out how to make it work. But I got a disk drive then shortly afterwards, and basically I was then in a playground where I could just get games easily, and the typing thing just lost its luster because it would be.
The thing that annoyed me about the Commodore 64 Basic was you would buy computer and video games, and there'd be like a Space Invaders clone for the Spectrum, and it'd be like 1.5 pages, and then there'd be some shitty like paratrooper game for the Commodore 64, and it was like 5 pages.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. And I only ever typed in. I sometimes went for like shorter ones, and they were usually complete bollocks.
Yeah, 2 pages.
The only one that I actually typed, which was a long one, it was me and my mate Grant. We took turns. He would read it out, and I was typing it. And like I says, it took us about a couple hours to type this damn thing in. And as soon as we typed it in, we just typed run, and it just went to a black screen. And it's like run, stop, fucking crash.
Yeah,
instant crash, and that was the end of my typing bloody shenanigans.
I was so happy when I typed in Canyon Bomber. The little plane that goes across with the city underneath, and you just press space.
Yeah.
Not the bombs. That was a typing game that I typed in, and I got that working, and I went, oh. That's a cartridge on the VIC-20 that you buy for 25 quid, believe it or not. And I've just typed that in, and it looks just like it. Brilliant. And it cost me £1 for that magazine. Brilliant. That's when you started going, yeah, it's worth typing these in, isn't it?
Aye.
Didn't last long.
And then you loaded up suddenly International Way of Exploding Fists, and you thought, Maybe it is worth paying £10 for a decent game.
When you suddenly saw errors that said error in line 657421, you went, line 65,000. That's all the way down. Forget it. I ain't looking there.
There's Mr. Trev. How you doing, Trev? Hope you're well, mate. Obviously, Trev, if you don't know him, he is an absolute legend when it comes to doing graphics, primarily in the C64. He's saying that doing them as a piece of piss. What do you actually use? Why is it easier now, Trevor? What is it you do? Interested to know. We'll let you come back to that. If you can let us know, what do you actually use when you're programming? I mean, obviously, we've seen what do you call it, games now. They're putting out games which probably, I wouldn't say it wasn't. In fact, they probably weren't. They're probably games. I mean, one of the biggest games, is what's its name, Sam's Journey or something. Something like that probably would never have existed, back in the day. But is it because there's so many like routines and that freely available to download, and there's obviously people now know how to irk the last kind of bit of percentage out of it? Do you think it's just there's more knowledge based now? Do you think?
Yeah, I've got. I mean, I think things are more open to us now. Say Trev is going to come back in a moment. Oh, he's already done so. I know when I was looking the other day, I wanted a particular sprite out of a Commodore 64 game, right? And I thought, I know back in the day we used to be able to reset the back of the Commodore 64 so it was still in RAM, and you could able to then go in and get this stuff. You can buy now virtually game writing packages which have got the assembler and the code, and there's what they call a sprite editor in it, and these programs that when you run the game inside it, you can actually then go to that corner of that game creator and nick the sprites out of it because they're in a certain section of RAM. So just like what Trev is saying, he's quite right. You could get something out of the Amiga, like the Tutu Carmen picture, and you could load that into the Commodore 64, and it'll look like shit because it's only got about 4 or 8 colors. But then you could then start manipulating those colors and bringing them back and ripple them, that ripply effect. And you could then make it start looking like the Tutu Carmen again. And there you are. You've turned something that it looked like it was going to take days into something that took minutes. Do you see what I mean? But I did look into it. There was I've forgotten what the suite of programs is called, but we're not talking about shoot 'em up construction kit here. We're talking proper hexadecimal code editors with sprite graphic editors and sound editors in it, and it all, when you code it all in, it comes out with a finished executionable that would play on a Commodore 64.
Did you ever try any of these what do you call it, like game maker type things?
Back in the day, and I even tried that one I've just been talking about, because I wanted the graphics. I wanted these graphics out of this game, and I only managed to pull out some of the graphics. They were what I didn't work out was that the graphics I wanted were mid-level of the third wave, and you had to it was one of those multi-loaders, so it wasn't even in RAM in the area that I was looking for, because it was you'd have to load that section to bring those graphics.
Oh, so did you have to get to like level 3 to then?
I'd have actually done that and then froze it, and then it would have loaded those graphics in. So I'd never have even been able to pull it without, I didn't. Well,
it's just as bloody well I never went into game development, because every one of my games would only have level 1 graphics.
I don't know. I mean, the nice thing is that Ghosts and Goblins all loads in one level, doesn't it? It loads in one load. It's not a multi-load. So you'd have all of those to play with. That's
actually, I never really thought about that. Yeah, that's an impressive feat when you think about it. Eh?
It is. And it's one of those things where I turn around and say, you don't need to have that perfect game either, because I don't care that it hasn't got all of the levels that the arcade has. It's whether I had fun, and it's got the fun levels in it, and it still had the difficulty, and I sort of had that game in my hands. It was like unheard of, £1,000 machine. Suddenly I got, and they didn't try to accurately do it like the arcade either, because the graphics were really small. You know, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to try and do 4 sprites put together to make up Sir Arthur, you know, and go along. They went, oh, sod that. We've only got that. we've only got that much space to play with, and it worked to me because it was I could recognize all the levels and everything. To me, it was great.
Did you ever do any of these? Remember, in fact, I did it. I was looking at a couple of my early videos. I did the bead art things where you can make sprite bead arts. It's little, what are they called? They're little plastic beads, and you can obviously get a sprite. I mean, what did I do? I think I did the Rolling Thunder character. I did the Way of Exploding Fist. It was quite good.
Yeah.
You put them on a little pin kind of board thing, and then you had a.
It's like a knitting needle with a hole at the end, and you just pushed it.
No. You just this thing was, it was like a bed of nails, and you quite literally just got the little hammer beads. That's what they're called. You just put the little beads on it. You made what you wanted. You then got a piece of it. It was like what do you call it? It's paper, greaseproof paper. You place that over the beads, and then you get an iron, and you just iron it very, very light on a light heat, and it sticks them all together, and you end up getting this like sprite. This kind of, actually, we never seen that before. Hammer beads.
What I'm trying to think of is that there was a lot of these craft things that we had. I had spirograph and all sorts of stuff, but I remember one where you used beads, and the bead went on the end of a knitting needle with a hole at the end, and you then pushed that into the. It was almost like a Play-Doh-y type square thing, and you kept doing that, and it made up a picture because the beads were different colors, and you put them all together, and it made a beady thing. I had stuff that had felt. Do you remember we had felt things, and you used to have felt shapes, and you put those on.
What was it called? Was it called fuzzy? Was it fuzzy felt? It was called. I think.
Yeah, fuzzy felt. And so I've had spirographs. I used to go into woodwork, and I'd stick nails on a piece of wood, and I'd get a string, and I'd make them go round, and it made the spirograph type things where you string round to the first and third and fourth and sixth, and all of a sudden you had this curve, and it had like a spider's web type thing. I did all of that because I was. It intrigued me that you could make a straight line, a curve, by just it was that sort of thing that I just loved. So anything like spirograph had me hooked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. I was in Dublin last weekend. I think I mentioned that. Went to Dublin. When did I go? I went Thursday, Friday, came back Saturday. Have you been to Ireland before?
No. That's why I was dead jealous when you told me you were going.
Aye, I'll tell you, it's as cheap as chips. I mean, the flights cost us both 32 quid each.
Wow.
That was there and back. That was from Edinburgh Airport to Dublin and back again. The hotel, what did it cost us? 98 quid per night. That was for the two of us, and that included breakfast, and that was right in the city centre of Dublin. So yeah, it was. Well, Craig's saying there's the downside. €10 a pint. Alcohol
was it?
is extremely. But Lee doesn't drink. She doesn't drink at all, and I'm not a big drinker at all. I mean, that's bloody alcohol free. Not that
Did you try a pint of Guinness?
I was gonna, and then we kind of ran out of time on the Friday. So on the last day, we were kicked out of the hotel at 12, and our flight was at 10:30 at night. So I said, right, we'll go to. I said we'll go to the because people are saying, oh, you have to have a pint of Guinness. You can't not have a pint of Guinness. So we got the tram to. That's the other thing is when we got to the airport, you get a what do you call it? It's called a leap card. It was 16 quid. That was like each, so it was 32 quid for the pair of us, and it allows you to use infinite buses or trams within Dublin. So you were just jumping on and off, which was great. I just used Google Maps. Where am I going? It'll tell you what bus stop. The bus stop is 10-minute walk, whatever, and just did that. It was great. So anyway, the last day we were there, we thought, right, we'll go to the Guinness factory. But Lee's like, look, she says, I'll not go in. I'll just go and look at the shops, whatever, and you can go in yourself. Oh, that's fine. But when we got there, it was in a bit of rough area, shall we say.
Yeah.
Dog shit everywhere, by the way. I take it they don't have to pick up dog shit in Dublin. But then I got to the Guinness warehouse thing, and there was a queue, massive queue. And I thought, oh, I'll just stand and wait anyway. And then this wee woman came up to me, "No, have you got your ticket?" I went, "Nah." "Well, you need to pre-order." I said, "Can I not pay?" "No, you need to pre-order it." I'm like, "Oh fuck!" So I got my phone out, and I was like a 2-hour wait, and I thought, bollocks to that. I'll not bother, you know. So I've never actually tried. I've never had a pint of Guinness in my life.
I just remember working in an Irish pub for about 5 years, because I was working in bars as well as working at Lloyd's Bank, so I could pay for night school. It's the only way that I could pay for night school was by working some shifts, and it was run by this Irish manager, and we always used to sit down. And he said, "I hate serving Guinness." He said, because Guinness is brown for a start; it's not black, right? Whenever I used to go over to Ireland, he said I used to bring stuff back, and I would always bring back, proper Guinness. And I said, "Well, I don't even drink black." He said, "Oh, English people putting blackcurrant in Guinness. What's all that about?" And we used to have all these laughs, but he never stopped talking about the fact that Guinness is brown. And I always remember it. So it's brown, it's not black. And then he taught me how to do a shamrock in the foam at the top, because there's a 3-part pour to pour in Guinness, right? And the last part of the pour, you could draw designs. So he taught me how to do the shamrock, which was you did a petal like that, then a petal on the other side, then up, then down, around, and kick. I could still. All you did was you did that in your hand, right? So you just had to remember to move it up like this and around, and then down and up. There you go. And then you poured it like that. There you go. They had a shamrock in the top. Everybody used to be impressed by that. You couldn't work there unless you could do it. So you had a whole night to learn how to do it. And if you couldn't do it by the end of the night, you weren't going to work a shift, because people go into Irish pubs because they want Guinness and stuff. So.
Interesting. Craig saying their Guinness looks better than it tastes. Yeah, it's one of these things you think, I mean, when you get to Dublin Airport, there's just the advertising is hammering home Guinness. It's, like I said, I've never. I mean, I do like. I'm not a bloody craft beer person. I do like John Smith's. I know that's all chemicals and all that bollocks, but I like John Smith's. Anything like that. Is Guinness similar to that, or is it different?
I think it's more a stout, isn't it, than a bitter? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not a big affiliation with all the different types. Like I used to know that when people used to say Jack Daniels is a whiskey, so no, it's a bourbon. Why? What's the difference between a bourbon and a whiskey? Then, and people would then say, "You don't know." So, don't you know that whiskey is fermented around the side of wine and all this sort of stuff? I'm going, "Oh, bollocks to you!" Then, if you're going to start belittling me. But what all it was is that I never really got into it enough to know what is it. Is it a bitter? Then is it a stout? Is it a I have trouble understanding lagers, let alone understanding the differences in cask stuff. You know what I mean?
So what's your kind of drink of choice then?
Whiskey.
Yeah. See, that's another thing. I mean, I'm Scottish, and I can't stand whiskey. I'm like, it's the foulest thing ever. But I've got a couple of mates when we used to go to like Arran, we used to go and run around Arran and things like that and cycle around it. And when we'd go to the pub at night, I would get a beer and they'd get a beer, and then they would always get a whiskey each, and they would always go. I think one time they got like a £32 whiskey, like a 32 quid for a nip. It's delicious. And then watching the Angel Share, which is a fantastic indie film. I don't know if you've ever seen Angel Share.
Angel Share? No.
Angel. Have you never seen Angel Share? It's
Angel Heart.
Angel Share. It was filmed in Scotland, and it's about a bunch of kind of delinquents.
All right.
I'll not give away the spoiler, but it's great. Angel
I need
Shear
to write
came out.
that down now. Then I don't.
Angel Shear
Share.
is fantastic.
When do you know what year? Are we talking really long time ago?
No, I don't know, maybe 2013, something like that. It was kind of mid noughties. There's a couple of famous actors in it, but I think the guy that played the main role, I think he was in jail, like for real, and then when he got out of jail, he became an actor for a wee while, and I think he got sent back to jail again. But it's a great film, but it's all about whiskey, and I'll not give the spoiler away. But it's
I'm looking forward to that now.
It's a great. I watch it. It's one of my favourite films, Angel Shear. If you like kind of train spotting and that kind of thing, it's pure Scottish. But what was I talking about? And he goes to like this whiskey taste, and then he says, "What do you think that tastes of?" And he's like, "It tastes like a wooden smoke filled," and then the aftertaste tastes a bit like buttered caramel, and then and I thought, and their taste, and I thought, I quite fancy getting into whiskey tasting, but I can't stand the taste of the thing. But is it a drink that? Is it an acquired taste? Is it something that you get used to?
This is the thing, right? To me, it was all about the aftertaste for a long, long time, right? So I used to go into a pub, and I couldn't stand Bell's and Grouse and all of these whiskies, right? They were 8-year whiskies, and when you tasted them, they were harsh, and they had a horrible aftertaste. All you had was a burning sensation. It was nothing, right? But then, if you go on a corporate do with work and somebody turns around and says, "Do you want a 25-year-old Dunwinnie?" I go, "Yeah, all right, I'll have it." 25 years? Yeah, all right, I'll have it. Because I want to know what the knobs drink, tasted it. And I went, wow, that was so smooth. And I felt it. And it was like, it's like I can feel sort of like a warm sensation. And it's got no aftertaste whatsoever. It just... all I can taste is that lovely taste of whiskey that I wanted out of all those cheap ones. And he said, that one glass is around about 60 quid. I went, well, bloody hell, because you could buy 6 bottles of grouse for that one glass that I had.
Well, I've got a mate. He's actually an elite ultra runner. I supported him in the West Highlandway race. I didn't know the guy until he was looking for a support crew, so I supported him. And he's one of these guys that you just instantly dislike because he was in a band. He was in a band for quite a number. I can't remember the name of his band, but he played. What did he play? Did he play keyboards? And they had moderate success. I mean, they supported like a lot of kind of big Irish bands and what have you. Then he gave up. They had artistical differences, so they kind of parted ways. Then he took up ultra running, and he's ran for Great Britain. He's fucking fantastic at Great Britain, and his paid job is he's a whiskey taster. He's made that's what he does. He gets paid lots of money to taste whiskies. And he told me that he says I've got a few bottles of whiskey that'll in the loft that'll pay for my kids' university.
Yeah,
that's all he would say. And I said to him, "What is the most expensive whiskey that you're aware of?" He said there was 2 barrels of whiskey. Oh, what's the really famous Dun something or another?
Dunwinnie. Like I had it. I had a 25-year Dunwinnie.
I can't remember. I'm not even trying to tell you because I don't know.
Lefroy.
It's a Scottish. That was a Scottish brewery, and they sold 2 barrels sold for 14 million.
Fuck. Jesus.
2 barrels. Apparently
what would be the insurance on getting traveling and making that travel? Because the other thing about it is can you really move them after they've been stuck there in that sort of like, because it's like sediment. Do you know what I mean? You think to yourself, if I move that, is that going to cause any problems to the inside of there? Because I don't think I'm going to. I'd be scared to knock the Hoover against one of the legs. around something like that. So,
14 million. So that would be like
14 million.
7 million for a barley whiskey. And it would still taste like shit to me, you know what I mean?
Wow, you say that, but you haven't tasted it, have you? That one?
I mean, I got given a bottle of whiskey. I can't remember where I got it from. I got it for, I think it's when I left a job. They got me a bottle of whiskey, and I'm like, oh, thanks very much. And I'm like, I'll never use that. And it was in my cupboard. And my uncle, obviously uncles are great. He came and he put up a fence for me. He put like slats on my fence. He said, I can do that for you. So he came up and he spent like the whole day. And at the end of it, I says, right, how much you want? No, I don't want it. I said, no, you need to let me give you money for it. No, I'm not fucking charging you. You're my nephew. Oh, okay. So anyway, I thought, you like whiskey, don't you? Yeah. There you go. He went, thanks very much. And then when later on I had a look at it, it was like 50 odd quid. I'm like, fucking hell. But somebody gives me a bottle of whiskey. I'm like, anybody want that?
Yeah.
I'm not interested.
That's the same. My mum, if she was ever given a bottle of whiskey, she gave it me dad. You can have that. And he'd go, all right. Because my mum likes Bacardi. So there you go.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't even like vodka. She likes Bacardi. And I go, what's so different? Well, what's about Bacardi? You just put it in Coke and it tastes nice. That's the thing about whiskey, you see. Most people will say the only thing you put in whiskey is whiskey. Right? You can put water in it, and it does. There is a slight difference when you do put water in it. It's not diluting it or anything, but it does change something about it. But if you have bells and grouse, I'll tell you, the amount of people that would put orange in it, and I go, do you know what? I totally understand why you're doing that. Or a whiskey and orange, right? Makes it a very strong orange drink. That's what that does, right? Because grouse and bells taste shit. So you can imagine the strongest freshly squeezed orange juice you could ever have. That's a whiskey and orange. It just tastes like a really strong orange drink. That's all it does. You put a grouse in
it. Jamie's asking me, so when I lived in Edinburgh, my housemate introduced me to Corrie Wrekin whiskey. Have you tried it? I haven't, Jamie. Like I said, I don't drink whiskey. So
Corrie Wrekin. So it's Corrie Wrekin.
Corrie Wrekin. Nah, like I said, for being a Scotsman, can't stand whiskey. But maybe like I said, if there's one thing I want to do before I die, it's be able to play the guitar. Maybe I maybe need to start hanging around bloody Keith. What's his name for the Rolling Stones? Learn to play the guitar and drink whiskey.
Well, you're going to have Kev to come up, aren't you, from Canada? You better start getting at least some whiskey in.
What's that? That's true.
He'll be coming to see you. He's going to go see
That's right.
you on his visit, and he loves whiskey.
Well, maybe I'll make maybe we'll do a wee whiskey tasting video, something like that. Good evening, Jimmy. How are you, Squire? Finally caught alive.
Yay! I love it when people catch a live show.
Oh, there's Karen. That's Brian's good lady. I'm absolutely fine, Karen. Nice to see you in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. Anyway, so Dublin, you've never been, but I would say, I mean, it's a lovely city. It kind of felt like a cross between Paris and London. It had that kind of vibe to it. It's one of these. It's like all these big city centres, big cities. You don't get any indigenous people in it. They're all foreign. You come to Edinburgh, you'll never speak to anyone that's Scottish. And yeah, I mean, there's a massive street in the middle called O'Connell Street. It's really, really wide, but it did kind of feel a bit like kind of Paris, but nice city. I think it's definitely geared towards. There's a lot of like young people go to it. It's definitely geared around drink, and so if you don't really drink, then you're kind of losing. You know.
Yeah, but I told you of a very favorite film of mine as a child. If you remember as a child, there would be certain films that you watch, like The Railway Children and The Secret Garden and all of those sort of things. And there was one that I loved called Flight of the Doves, which was about two children running away from their wicked grandfather to try and get to see their granny in Dublin. And that I've got the vinyl album of that, and it's worth a couple of £100, the vinyl. But there's a lot of tracks on there, and one of them is Walking Down O'Connell Street.
Oh, is
Called
it?
Walking Down O'Connell Street. So you get to know sort of like Dublin just through songs in Dublin's fair city, where etc. That's how I knew a little bit, of Ireland, is basically through songs. That's all I can tell you about it. But as Dublin, tell me, is there many sites where you can see about the troubles? Like is there any sign of old buildings where you can see gunshots?
There's interesting you should say that, because my sister asked me that. She says, "Oh, did you notice the library has bullet holes in it?" And I didn't, because I didn't know it had that. I didn't look for it. But there's a big library, and apparently there's like holes where there has been trouble. No, I mean, we went to a couple of museums. We went to one which is an archaeology museum, and it's just fully like bits of metal and gold cups and all that. And I'm walking about it, and Lee's looking at stuff, and I'm looking at stuff, and we've been there for about half an hour. I went, "Is it me, or is this shit?" She went, "Yeah, it's boring, isn't it?" It was just boring. Yeah. You're looking at things, you're like, okay.
Let's travel to another country, and we'll go round an artillery museum. Oh,
yeah, great. But no, we went to that was the archaeology museum. We went to another one, which was the natural history museum. It was like the smallest museum you've ever been in. I mean, they had like they had obviously skeletons and God knows what of animals, but it was just one big room. But then there was not the natural history. There was a museum of Ireland, and that was actually, it was barracks where the army used to be in the First World War. It's now turned into a museum. That was quite interesting. But yeah, I'm not really into archaeology. It's boring. I think unless you understand what you're looking at, you're like,
you'd rather watch Indiana Jones than actually get into archaeology. You know what I mean? I'm more into the big ball rollers that are coming towards you and spiders and everything, than the actual thing itself.
Yeah, but no, I mean, Dublin, beautiful city. Like I said, you can get there for. You can get. I mean, when we were queuing up to get in the plane, there was a hen do. There was all these young girls, and we're talking to them, and they were actually going over and coming back the same day. Because it's.
Was it a big plane? Was it a commuter plane? When it's used for business,
it was one of Ryanair's best. I mean, it wasn't huge. But for 30,
all I've heard of is that you can get really cheap flights if it's a flight that's always been commuting over there and people pull out. Because it's chartered, you can get some really cheap flights because it's going to go anyway, whether there's 4 people on it or not, right? Yeah. So, and I've heard you can get some really great flights that way if it's one of those flights where it takes business class people all the time to go to business meetings and stuff between 2 cities. It's one of those flights.
I would certainly recommend you go across. It's a beautiful city.
Brilliant, yeah.
Good. Yeah, Jamith is saying, pretty sure there's a Phil Lynott statue. I didn't actually realise that Phil Lynott was Irish.
I wouldn't know, but I know of his music. My God. No, I wouldn't have known that.
I didn't know that, but there was a big kind of mural on the wall, and it had pictures of all sort of various famous Irish people, and I must admit he was.
I said, I didn't really even know that David Bowie was from Reading. It's only when you go to Reading and there's a great big bloody statue of him, now he's dead, and all of that sort of stuff, and murals, and it's all over the wall, that's where he came from. I just knew him as this brilliant pop artist that came up with a wicked range of music and dressed up in like Ziggy Stardust and all of this sort of stuff. How did I know he came from Reading? It doesn't come into it really for
So
me.
Reading's got David Bowie. Arbroath has got Bon Scott, and Stoke's got Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
Good evening, Michelle. How are you?
Like I said, some of them I can't even mention. I can't even. I've told you before about my hometown and the pop performer that we never talk about, so I won't bring him up now. But you know the one I'm talking about, and he is just a dead word to us.
Yeah.
So there you are.
But no, definitely get Dublin, beautiful city. Definitely make a point of it was a place, one of these places I always wanted to go to, and I've been, so great.
Where does it stand in your places you visited though? 5th, 4th, 20th, 110th? What?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, we were there for 3 days. And I suppose if you kind of organised it better, you would have planned it out a wee bit better. But we just kind of wandered about. If you like drink, if you like alcohol, you like atmosphere. I mean, there's some fantastic.
Yeah, stupid me, you see, has done things like that though, and I went for 3 days to New York. I mean, that's stupid, right? You could spend 2 weeks in New York and not scratch 10% of it. And I went on a 3-day trip. I mean, what about this stupid? You know what I mean?
You could spend a week. You could spend a week in the M&M store. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. So they was, but I got so much in, and I turned around and say that's got to be one of the best experiences I had because it was so condensed. It was like when I finish here, I'm going there. When I finish there, I'm going there. When I finish there, I'm going there. By the time I got to my bed, I was only sleeping for about 6 or 7 hours, and I was starting another day where I've got to do it because you had to get so much in. It was 3 days, and it cost this much money to go over, and it was like, spent £199 on this because that's how it was, and it was the 80s.
Yeah,
I remember it was the 80s as well. So £199 was pretty expensive. So it was like 3 days. I've got to get all this in. Went to the Statue of Liberty, went to Mile High Comics, I went everywhere.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Are you aware? You've heard of e-games, haven't you? Esports.
Esports, yeah.
Yeah. There was an esports championship that I watched on YouTube. Have a guess what they were actually doing?
Well, it was either an RTS or an FPS game, I would have thought, but maybe it's not. Was it Fortnite?
No.
Was it?
No. It was the Microsoft Excel World Championships. That is actually a thing. Google it. Go into YouTube. I thought, what the fuck is this? It came up as a.
Just go into our works. Everybody's got Excel out. We'll see whether you're going to see if he can be a world champion at Excel.
This is a thing. They had Excel spreadsheets. Yeah, they actually had. It was like there was 2 rounds. There was 8 in the first round, and then there was 8 in the second round. And I mean, they even had walk-ons. From Philadelphia, the Bear. This guy would come on to walk-on music to type up Excel.
What do you do in Excel? What is it? They give you a puzzle like you got to make this pivot table work or something in 15 seconds.
I mean, I couldn't really see it clearly because obviously it was on the thing. But yeah, they had all this data. And then, round 1, they had to, I don't know quite exactly what they were doing. They had to, extract information. And if they got the right answer, it would then move them on to level 2 and then level 3. I think it went up to level 6. And there was 8 of them. And after was it 5 minutes, the person who was in last place would drop off. So it was like, you had to make sure you were in the top kind of, and then when it got to the 4, it then went on to the second one. So yeah,
we've done one of those at work. We actually gave a spreadsheet to somebody. I think it was to see whether for them to join the company, and it basically was the puzzle was here's an Excel spreadsheet. Put this data into alphabetical order with a result at the end that equals 248, and they timed them, and it was literally a VLOOKUP and a pivot table trick, and all you had to do really was just sort column F out and then basically put in one number in column G because it was blank, so that would have been a 0, so that wouldn't have come up with the right number. And then if you did those 2 things, you did it in 15 seconds. Right, it was simple like that, right? But it was how quick you could see that data going around, going, "Oh, I see it! Look, fucking, out." You know
Well,
what I mean?
they had like cameras over each of them, and they're sitting. And they were quite young people as well, you know. But yeah, there you go. There's something you never knew: the Microsoft Excel World Championships. I actually like, considering I never stuck in it like programming or basic programming. I do like an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, in my old job, you know, I would come up with various reports, and I'd think, how can I
Yeah.
make it slicker? How can I make it so that rather than having to type in all that, I would only have to type in one column, and it would use obviously
But
whatever it is,
the
formulas
most
and what have
impressive
you.
thing I've ever seen Excel did, and it still impresses me now, and it shouldn't do, is you could take a photograph that you give to this web designer, right? This website. He puts it into Excel, and it comes out with an Excel version of your picture, right? Because it turns all the cells into numbers, like 0 is green, 1 is red, and all of this sort of stuff, right? And if you expanded the whole spreadsheet out, which would be 675,000 lines by whatever it is, and you expanded it all out, you'd see your picture was like a photo. But if you zoomed in, all you saw was zeros and ones and all this sort of stuff that made up what your picture is. And no word of a lie, you can just get a passport photograph, take it, and it will send you the spreadsheet back, and you can load it into your own Excel. And then when you zoom it out, you go, "Oh, it's me!" You know, look. Never surprises me that, and yeah, it shouldn't do, because I know, of course, the further that you zoom out, the more it looks nice, doesn't it?
More kind of detailed. Michelle's asking, do they still have Easter eggs in Excel? Yeah. Did you ever see the flight simulator that was kind of built into? Was it Excel? Was it 2003 or something? I think it was.
We talked about it, didn't we, in a very early stream of us together, and I told you that Microsoft put in all sorts of code into Word, where if you typed in this line, it would bring up 6,000 lines of text, which would have the letters A, B, C, because it was supposed to be a print sheet. It was to test printing out quickly. So you only had to do something in Excel, and it would be a hidden thing that's there. And it was, coders got bored, I'm pretty sure, of trying to work out bugs and stuff and that they just thought, I'm going to program Flappy Bird, stick it in the code and get it out there. And it amuses me, because apparently they're still in those versions. Like if you get Excel 2010 or Excel, now it's just Excel 360. So I don't think you can have that now.
Yeah. Good evening, Bill. I know you're just dropping in to say hi. Yeah, Jimmy is saying there, the best thing I have seen was someone sent in a massive email Excel spreadsheet that was Sonic 1, and you could actually play it. Would that be possible?
Wow. See, no, I wouldn't know how they did that. I mean, obviously it's got VBasic and it's got macros, which are functions. But how would you make you could turn certain sections like numbers, like I say, into colors, and that you could make the image of a hedgehog. But I don't know how you would make it so it recognized that you pick up a ring and that's 10 and all of that sort of stuff. I wouldn't know how that. Wow. No, I wouldn't know how to start.
I suppose you could, in theory, do an animation, because as you say, all you're really doing is like filling in cells
and grouping it together and calling it
and
1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you flap through 1, 2, 3, and you've got that like a flip book.
Yeah, and then when cell A1, whatever it is, excuse me, it's yellow, and then when it goes again, it changes to a different color, whatever. Something like that.
As you loop those 3 animations, so when it goes 1, then 2, then 3, and goes back to 1, it moves along one character.
Yeah.
One set, so then it would be moving forward and moving its feet at the same time, and that's how you get that working. Yeah.
Insane. But I wouldn't
want to start it though.
Go and check it out. It's I wouldn't say watch the entire video, but it's quite interesting, the fact that that you get guys that are good at Excel. They come on to walk on music. Never mind MMA or boxing. Microsoft Excel, the World Championships is that's where it's at. Honestly. Right, a quick rant. When I was out tonight, I was driving a minibus, and do you notice that that I think we've mentioned this before? Car headlights are so bright now.
Yeah.
Really, really. Is it me, or is it because of the evolution of LED lights? Is that what
I
it
think
is?
it's LED. I think it's become worse with LED lights, and the fact that virtually every car now has not only got headlights, but they've got bloody smaller headlights underneath.
Yeah.
They've all got picture shapes. You know, they look like, so it makes the car look like it's got a face. That annoys me as well. But every time they come towards you, the closer they get, it turns into a diamond on my glasses. You know, it's like almost like a star, like this as they go past. I now wear yellow filtered lenses in the front of my glasses now, so that
I bought a set of them. I don't know where I've put them, but yeah, they're designed to kind of stop glare. But
they don't do that well. But my dad found me a pair that you use for fishing, for float fishing at night, and those work. Those really do work, and that's why they're permanently in my car. But yeah, I'll be so glad when it's daylight again when I'm driving home. That's all I can say.
Well, it is getting lighter, which is fantastic. Yeah. Definitely. Just when I was out today, I was dropping off some stuff at my Cooksool Dojang. It was some furniture that we had that my work was getting rid of, so I took that over. And when I turned up, the black belts were doing archery, and the master says, "Oh, you want a wee shot?" I wouldn't mind. So I actually had a few shots at archery.
I love archery.
No, the first time I've ever done it. Yeah,
they got rid of our club up at where I live, but I used to love archery, and it was such a shame. But it is a very expensive hobby now. If you get
is it really?
If you get a nice weighted archery, you know, a bow now, they've all got pulley wheels and everything at the top. You know,
yeah.
I mean, we're talking proper precision things. They cost a fortune. Absolute fortune. So in some ways I'm glad, but when that closed down, I remember I went to another club which was a pellet gun club, you know, a 2.2 rifle range where you just took a 2.2 rifle and you just shot at little things. But then then the laws came in about having pellet guns in your house. You know, even that was difficult for you to have. You know, I mean, let alone a gun rifle for cartridge guns. Pellet guns now were outlawed because there's so many cats that were missing an eye or something because some stupid sods playing with a pellet gun in the back garden and that, shooting birds out the trees and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, everything gets spoiled in the end. But I think we were spoiled in the 80s because we could try all of that. We could have pellet guns and fire them in our back gardens. I used to have a Black Widow catapult, which I used to fire marbles. Used to fire marbles at the back end of our garden. They used to shatter, you know, glass marbles when they hit the corner of trees.
Was that one of these catapults where it was just like a rubber tube and it was like the suction that kind of kept on?
A Black Widow had an arm guard that.
Yeah.
They went out, and then there was two sort of like very elasticated bands that came out that sucked onto the end that went to the actual catapult itself, and all the pressure went onto your arm there as you pulled it back.
That must have been absolutely lethal, eh?
Well, yes, but you see, I remember my uncle works on a farm. We used to use them to kill rats. And he gave me my first Black Widow catapult. Brilliant.
Black Widow, eh?
Yeah, that's what it was called, a Black Widow catapult. It was a brilliant thing. Later on, when they didn't sell too well, they turned them into bait launchers, you know? They made a cheaper, low-powered version that you put the maggots and stuff in the actual where the marble would go, and you fired your baits into the canal and the reservoirs. Yeah. So that's how he got his Black Widow catapult. So
have you still got it?
Yeah, perished to death. No, it's perished because
I was going to say,
all I've got is the housing. I haven't got the elastic anymore because it's just, you know, if I pulled it back, that would just snap off.
The problem with stuff like that is you probably couldn't even legally use it now, could you?
No, that's what I'm saying. You can't. You try now. I mean, I bet you if it was 25 years ago, you could have gone. If there was such a thing as Amazon, you'd have been able to have bought a 2.2 air rifle and have it delivered to your house. Now you have to go to special gun clubs, and you wouldn't be able to have it in your house because you could only operate it when you went to the club itself and all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? We were very lucky in the 80s, I think.
Yeah, there wasn't the same kind of rules and regulations. But listen, just before we can wrap this up, there was a bit of talk in the stream. I don't follow the news or anything. What's been going on with Microsoft? They've been getting a bit of flack about, is it the new Xbox or something that's coming out? Do you know much about it?
No.
What?
I'm sorry, I haven't. I have been. I do listen to the news quite a lot, but at the moment, all I've been listening to is everything to do with bloody our Prime Minister and Biden as well, who's got a memory like a sieve apparently, and he's 82 running the country. That's all I've been looking at, and of course the guy who did the acid attacks, he might have chucked himself out over Chelsea Bridge. That was the latest news that I've heard. I tend to listen to technology news, but I haven't heard anything about Xbox.
Yeah, well, Craig said, does anybody think the price of the latest Xbox will come down in price?
Yes, it will.
Yeah. What one are we talking about? What is the latest? Is there a new one that's come out or something?
No, it's just that the Xbox X has got it. They recognise now that about the backward compatibility within it and so forth, that the next Xbox is going to be significantly different, and a lot of people now afford it because it's dropped by £200, and I think it will only drop even further because the next one I think is going to be an all digital affair. There's going to be no discs.
There's Craig's. Jamie's saying there, if the leak is true, you want a Series X.
Everything's going digital. That's been known for a long time.
And
what you have to understand is Game have changed their model, for selling secondhand games, and this is where everybody's saying, prepare yourself because there's not going to be very long before there'll be no physical media. And it's scaring everybody that's in the movie industry because we love our physical media, the films. Game's slightly different, but I still like a game to come on a disc. I'm sorry, but I always do. I don't like download codes and shit like that. Like you were saying, you got a case the other day and all it had was a download code in it. What the fuck's that all about? Right? So I spent 30 on a piece of artwork, did I? All that sort of shit. No.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to miss the days of physical media.
Well, I can't remember where I heard about it. In fact, it was on the radio, and they were actually saying now that the people, there's actually the demand for DVDs is actually picked up recently.
Yes.
Because, excuse me, I think, am I right in saying that some of these streaming services are going to, they're saying, look, you're probably never going to be able to see this film again. Is that what's going to happen? You'll know more about that than anybody.
Yeah, well, it's like anything. DVD was around for the longest period of time, and they still manufacture them now. Everything that's been on DVD has not been converted to Blu-ray, and everything that's been on Blu-ray has not been converted to 4K. So really, you've still got a massive haul of stuff that you can only see on DVD. Right. And then when you go back to that level, remember, we didn't have high definition TVs. We had CRTs. So the DVD picture looked lovely on a CRT, but you only got them looking nice if you add an upscale DVD player. If you upscale a DVD player, it makes everybody look a bit waxy. That's all I can say about it, right? It makes it look like they've had Botox injections, right? But if that's the only way that you can watch a film called Kes, which it isn't, by the way, Kes you can get on Blu-ray and all that, but say that film, Kes, or 12 Angry Men, we've talked about certain films, right? Then, of course, DVD's your only way. And therefore, they're not the 20 pence, I can't get rid of it for love nor money. They're now sought after. You know what I mean?
So in other words, what you're saying is I need to go into my local CEX and just buy up all the films I want now.
The first thing I would do is write that without even thinking about films at all, right? In regards to whether you've got it or not, write down your top 100 films, right? And then look and see if you can get the Blu-ray of it. If you can't get the Blu-ray of it, look out for that DVD. because it's pound sure that you probably won't see it on Blu-ray now or 4K. It'll probably never come out. Right? And I don't want you to purposely, therefore, look for lists that people have written where they said this is not on Blu-ray, this is not on Blu, because it doesn't work like that. You want to do it for the films that you enjoy, and there are still things that I can get on DVD that I can't get on Blu-ray and can't get in. The
thing is, I'm a bit like with films as I am with games. I can play a Commodore 64 game and enjoy it. I can watch. I don't have a VHS video player obviously anymore, but I'll quite happily watch a DVD. Doesn't bother me. It doesn't have to be 4K for me to enjoy it at all.
Take it like this. There's a channel at the moment that I go to and I watch every night. It's called Talking Pictures, right? Freeview channel, right? Shows nothing but films and old TV stuff, right? Even shows Larry the Lamb for the children in the morning at 9:00, right? No word of a lie. It shows 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s films late at night called Moviola or something. I think it's with Caroline Munro, who was a Bond girl. She was the one in the helicopter in Live and Let Die. Not Live and Let Die, The Spy Who Loved Me. Anyway, she was in lots of horror films. But that's a Freeview channel that doesn't have a HD channel. So, of course, it plays the DVD stuff. So that's how I get to watch a lot of old films. And I also know I'm never going to see that on Sky, because Sky would have to convert it to high definition to show it on their channel. And that means that the studio has got to convert it to HD. So Talking Pictures, they show all the Flash Gordon. Do you remember the Flash Gordon part?
Oh, yeah.
You can get those on DVD, but you can't get them on Blu-ray. Can't get them on 4K. You can buy the serialized on DVD only, and that's the only way that you're going to see them, or on a Freeview channel. It's never going to be on Sky One.
So in other words, if you were one of these people who just like you didn't, you and I are kind of we're hoarders. We keep all our old computers and all our old technology. But if you were that type of person that said, right, I've flat screen TVs are out, let's get rid of the CRT. 4K TVs out, let's get rid of the HD TV. If you got rid of your DVD player and got a Blu-ray, and then you goes, right, I want to get the best 4K ever. You buy the 4K player and get rid of your, hundreds of DVDs, and then suddenly you think, I quite fancy watching Jaws. Oh, fucking hell, I can't actually watch that. I can't see it.
Oh, yeah, you could fall into that trap if it weren't for the fact that
you'll never be able to see that film again.
I think you get away more with films than any other medium. You know what I mean? Because I could put a VR headset on and have it looking like it did as a DVD, because it's a different type of media that you're going to be watching on. But with games, I think we definitely need to step back and say relish these days, because it's going to be much like the 80s, where you won't remember the Commodore 64 for very much longer. You know what I mean? It will be played this way, and that's the only way. And and putting a disc in a games console is now going to become something that my granddad used to do. That it's going to be like that, and you're going to go, what? And you think it's only you think it's miles away, but it's just round the corner. Because I tell you what, it weren't that long ago that I had a Polaroid camera and the bloody film came out at the front, and I used to have it instantly there and then. It weren't that long ago, and now it's like digital.
Well,
digital.
When I moved into this house, I brought along. You remember the big, massive folders that you had all your copied games in them, like 200 discs. I've got two of these. So I've got about 400 films, and it was when I used to. I subscribed. I didn't subscribe. I paid the thing for Love Film, and I was on their top tier. So I got like 5 discs at one time. Copy them, send them back. Copy, blah, blah. And I was going to throw them out a couple of years ago, or 5 years ago, and I'm bloody glad that I didn't, because I was leafing through it the other day. And I thought, Christ, I forgot about that film. I could watch that. I'd watch that. In fact, a film that I watched, we were talking about it, and it's, my favourite comedy, Planes, Trains and Automobiles.
Planes, Trains and Automobiles,
This film is up there with it, and it's Kingpin.
Oh yeah, with the rubber hand. Yeah,
Absolutely brilliant.
Woody Harrelson. Yeah,
And
Bill
I
Murray.
mean, Bill Murray, the pair of them.
He's an evil bastard in
Is,
that.
he's
He's
an
an evil
arrogant.
bastard. Oh.
It's brilliant. I mean, it's a film that I watched. I said a couple of days ago, and even though it's an old film, I was sitting watching it, and then you were getting like sound effects at the back. You know, oh, that's actually quite impressive for like an old film. You know what I mean?
I actually had a discussion about Kingpin the other day. Do you think that film would have been successful if you took the Amish element out of it? I think the Amish is the thing that makes it funny.
It's certainly, yeah. The whole, yeah. If he was just some kind of like stupid person, whatever, it wouldn't have the same. No, I think you need the whole thing. I mean, it was like
you had to have the foil.
Yeah.
You had to have the foil of the fact that there was someone so innocent that he didn't understand this was going on that makes that film funny. And I had that argument with someone, and I said, "I'm sorry, but that film would not work without that."
No, I totally agree. Of course, it's when they're. I don't want to spoil it, but when they're bowling, and Bill Murray's comb over is getting worse and worse. His
comb over, yeah. He still thinks he's a stud. He was doing all of his movements with his.
There's one bit where they're about to bowl, and this rather voluptuous woman runs up to Woody Harrelson, and he went, "Oh, how you doing? How you doing?" And then Bill Murray goes up and he puts his hand, like feels on you. Oh, off you go. He's just like a pervert. It's brilliant.
But of course, I would destroy you all at bowling. I am absolutely the king of bowling.
Are you really? Seriously? Are you good at bowling?
I get spares and strikes. Yes, mostly.
Aye. What's your? I mean, I know enough about 10-pin bowling that like 200 is a fucking good score.
Yeah. But when I used to go, I take it like this. I haven't been bowling for 8 years. I went last year, and I still had a score of 159.
Aye, that's.
So I'm not far off, but I have got my own bowling ball.
Oh, have you? Brilliant.
Has
it got a rose in it or something? Or is it a joystick inside it?
Oh, rubber hand. that goes in the holes that I just put the glove on. No, but yeah, I do like bowling. I do say, and my dad always turned around and said, "You seem to be good at these types of games," because I was good at cricket, good at bowling, good at squash, but I was useless at football, tennis. So there was just it was
what
just
about like yeah.
It was just I think it's something about the fact that if there's a ball in your hand, so if it was baseball, rounders, and all that sort of stuff, I was like there. But if it was with a team and you had to pass the ball with your feet, I just wasn't.
Completely different thing. What about like darts? You know, good at darts?
Yeah, it's okay at darts. Not too bad at darts. But again, that's a sliver compared to something that's in the palm of your hands. I always used to be pretty good at where I knew where my hand would be when I moved my hand forward and when to let it go. Darts is more a flick, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get that rhythm, you know, and all that.
Well, I think what we need to do when we get together at some point, we'll need to have a.
I'll destroy you.
We'll need to have bowling.
Our video, it's to show you just how much I destroyed.
Snooker, Alan. Pool, darts.
We're talking piss now. But
I
was going to say before you go. No, just before you go. Is there any questions from last week that you want to get one out there? Because I think you said last time I'm going to bring that out next time. Because
there's a couple of questions that were asked last week.
And if you haven't got time, you haven't got time.
Yeah, I'll save them. I'll save them for next week. Just very quickly, Michelle is saying there the Internet Archive is films tens. So what archive is Michelle referring to there?
I think the only thing I can think of is that org site, you know, where basically you could even rent library books from there. You know what I mean? The internet.org. Because there is a National Institute of Film, and a lot of things have been digitized. But all I'm saying is they're only as good as when they were digitized and what resolution they digitized them in.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is you're not going to see a 4K upscaled Laurel and Hardy film. Not been done yet.
Yeah.
Doubtful it'll ever will. It'll go up to Blu-ray level, 1080p. Won't be 4K. I can't see Laurel and Hardy being upscaled to 4K.
Would you want that?
Doesn't need it. It looks incredibly sharp on Blu-ray. My friend Denny showed me his copy, and it was brilliant. It was wow. It's different to the DVD. It's stunning. With that, I'm shutting up.
Yep. Excellent. Listen, folks, thank you very, very much for taking time out your Friday night to join me and Dale. It's always I always appreciate having you guys along. Massive thanks to Dale for taking part as always, mate. It's always good to catch up. Yeah. Always good to catch up, mate. If you've not subscribed to Dale's channel, in fact, just ping your channel down below before we head off.
Yeah, okay.
Stick it down below. Dale's got
it actually says it there. Look there, look, Del Boy 3K1.
Stick the link down below anyway. And subscribe. My subscribers have gone a bit mental in the last I don't know, God knows why. I don't know what happens. It's one of these weird ones though, because I went for such a long time where it was I was static. Just completely not moving.
I'm happy with mine don't go up at all, and that's fine for me. But a big congratulations to Robert. He hit 900 last week.
Wow,
900.
God, it took me about impressive. I don't know 3-4 years to get to that amount. That's impressive.
Yeah,
that's impressive. So anyway, folks, listen, I'm going to let you get going. I should hopefully be along on Sunday. 7 o'clock until 9. Topic to be decided. I don't know. I'll think about it probably literally 2 minutes beforehand. So anyway, folks,
it'll be on the Mister though, won't it?
Well, indeed. Anyway, folks, have a fantastic weekend. Take care. See you later.
Bye.